Evan, we're gearing up to do a lot of travel here and a lot of scuba diving along the way. So I thought we'd talk about our top pieces of gear that are great to purchase before you head out on a dive trip.
Yeah, and number one we have here is your own mask to take with you on your travel trip.
For sure. The mask is a really personal item. When you find one that fits, you love it and you want to hold on to it forever without ever letting it go, and it's really sad when it gets worn and you've got to find a replacement for it. So it's also a nice lightweight item to pack, right? It doesn't take up a lot of space. And we all know that space is a premium these days when doing air travel.
Yeah, definitely with dive gear as well.
Yeah, so the mask is your number one suggestion for purchasing as a new diver getting ready to travel, yeah?
Yeah, and also you have the option to rent a mask on your trip, but it's not going to have the same fit or feel or comfort of your own mask, and it might leak or be uncomfortable to you.
That's very true. Sometimes it takes a long time to go through the rental selection to find the one you like the best. So $100-ish, give or take.
Give or take.
US?
US.
Yep. All right. Mask, number one. All right. Let's see what else we got here, Evan.
We have our SMB and a reel.
Yeah, so the surface marker buoy is a great one. It can be a fantastic piece of life-saving equipment. We've certainly talked about it in past videos, so definitely check those out here at the end. But the surface marker buoy, we can inflate this and we can signal the boat. Now, more often than not, the rental dive shops do not give you one of these, or they do not offer them for rent even.
Yeah, and especially while traveling, you're probably going somewhere you don't know that well or don't know at all. So it's always nice to have one of these in case you get lost.
Yeah, again, it doesn't take up a lot of space. It's just easy to unravel this and inflate it up, and you can really be spotted easily by the boat. It's a great item. You can also add in a reel and turn a surface marker buoy or an SMB into a DSMB, where it's a delayed surface marker buoy, right? And you can launch it at depth from your safety stop or even deeper depending on the length of your reel. Good thing to look for in a surface marker buoy or a DSMB is the ability to orally inflate it, as well as some have the ability to inflate them from an open bottom. But if you're going to deploy it from depth, you definitely want to make sure it has an overpressure valve so that any of the air that's expanding on the way up comes on out. Some of these do not have this, and it just makes it a surface marker buoy at that point, right?
Right, so SMB or DSMB, great safety kit to have with you.
For sure. And nice and easy to travel with as well, and could be a nice bit of life-saving equipment.
Yeah.
So we got our mask, our surface marker buoy, and up next we've got a dive computer. This is another highly personal item, right?
Yeah, so dive computers are super important to have with you, even generally diving, and it's just super useful to have. Keeps track of your depth, your air, your no deco limit, just everything you would need.
Yeah, absolutely. These days when you're learning to dive, they talk about the tables, but the emphasis is really not about the tables, and most people really don't understand how the dive tables work, and they rely almost solely on a dive computer. And if you don't have one that's personal to you, you need to use one that's out of a rental fleet. But because of the diversity of dive computers out there, learning how to use one properly within a short amount of time that you grabbed off a rental rack can be a real challenge. So having one that's yours, you have the time to really study the manual and get to learn how to use it, yeah?
Yeah, and some high-tech computers like the Shearwater have specific buttons that do certain things that can really help you out, and you don't really have a lot of time to learn those certain ones that would be very useful to have.
For sure, you can personalize a lot of this as well. And you mentioned the Shearwater. We dive with the Shearwater Teryx as our primary dive computer. We have some other secondary backup computers. So I think Shearwater and Garmin would be our two top choices for a dive computer. They're certainly one of the most intuitive and easiest dive computers on the market to use. And that kind of brings us up to our sponsor for this video, which is Adventures in Diving STX here on the island of St. Croix.
Yeah, Adventures in Diving carries both of these different types of computers, so you have an option of what you want.
Absolutely. Not only do they have computers though, but they can take you out to guided dives here from the shore here on St. Croix. We can do a lot of the different popular spots, including the Frederiksted Pier out at Cane Bay. We can hit North Star. There are so many really cool dives here that having a guide that knows the area is certainly really critical and makes it a lot easier to safely dive that site.
So not only do they have equipment that you can buy, they also have great rental equipment just for you.
And not only do they do scuba diving tours, but they also do snorkeling tours and customize it to your needs. Adventures in Diving STX, check them out when you're here on the island of St. Croix. So up next, really, we've got a regulator. Now the regulator is also a nice, relatively small, easy thing to travel with in a backpack on its carry-on, but it's also very personalized to you. A lot of people enjoy their own mouthpiece and the comfort that it provides rather than one off the rental rack. They also have the configuration of their alternate in there, as well as getting used to the surface or the depth gauge and your submersible pressure gauge.
Right, and the regulator is super important to have, and just having your own makes you more comfortable in it, and you don't want to be uncomfortable in something that is providing you your air supply.
Yeah,
as well.
So again, since it doesn't take up a lot of room in the carry-on, it's a great item to have. The last item that we'd recommend to travel with is a transmitter for your dive computer.
Yeah, a transmitter is super helpful. You can connect it to your dive computer and it'll display your air on your dive computer.
Yeah, that way you've got all the information in one spot here, not only your depth, your no decompression limits, and everything else, as well as the time. You've got your pressure in your tank right there. Now we usually dive with a backup submersible pressure gauge here on our regulators as well. That's an old analog version of it, just in case there's failure here with the transmitter. But to be honest, we have never really encountered any transmitter failure with the most recent ones out there in the market. So transmitters have gotten pretty solid these days, and it's another good item to purchase for traveling.
Yeah, it's also a lot easier to read on your computer as well.
So to round it out, we got our mask, our surface marker buoy with our reel if you make it a delayed surface marker buoy, right? We've got our dive computer, we've got our regulator, and then we've got our transmitter that we're going to add into our regulator to connect to our dive computer as well. It's worth noting that not every dive computer comes with a transmitter, but the more higher end ones do these days.
Yeah, so all of these stuff on our list are super small, lightweight, easy to pack, and are very helpful on a travel trip.
Yeah, so when you're traveling, it's a lot easier than to just grab a rental BC and some rental fins and even a rental wetsuit to sort of round out your entire kit. But these items are highly personal and great ones to pack along with you because they all fit together in a nice carry-on. But guys, if you enjoyed this video, definitely check out another video here at the end where we talk about how to use some more safety gear, including a surface marker buoy. But until then, we'll see you next time
Underwater.